Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over what is happening in this market lately. This market has been a bit of a kangaroo market for the most part, but it is kind of doing what I mentioned it would be doing, at least for Tesla stock, which is, well, I said this about a week ago, maybe more, chopping within this range, and we're continuing to do that. So as usual, I will update you on what I think after today's price action. Don't forget, we have CPI tomorrow. PPI came in this morning. Pretty decent stuff, right? It seemed pretty good. Let's see if CPI can continue that and, comes in at least in line. And let's just see where the market goes with it. But yeah, I'll give you my thoughts overall on the price action, what I think will happen next. And yeah, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc., I do share my thoughts every day. The market is open with my members in my YouTube membership. The link is down below in the description of the video. Again, constantly sharing my thoughts, updates, posts, good days and the bad days. I'm always there, giving my updates on what I personally think is happening to the charts, specifically Tesla stocks, sometimes other stocks as well. Did another AMD update today, for instance, or for $5, you get access to all that, plus NVIDIA daily updates in the members group as well. But yeah, love to have you there. Jumping into it though, Tesla, unfortunately, closing the day down. I don't know why the percentages just moved, but seemingly, assuming it doesn't continue moving, down about 1.7%, closing at about $396 per share, which obviously compared to the market is going to be a bit of an underperformance actually. Start off with an outperformance into an underperformance with QQQ and SPY ultimately at the end of the day finishing pretty much flat as we await CPI tomorrow. So what does this mean moving forward? Well, Tesla had a nice gap up, today, right? It had a beautiful run up. And it was looking pretty decent, right? It was actually looking quite decent, looking like it potentially wants to get that nice little breakout on the daily chart. But this is why, to be safe about things, daily closures or just really candle closures above these levels is, yeah, you can sometimes miss opportunities because, you can just keep rocketing up before the daily or before the candle closes and you kind of miss that opportunity and hope, you hope you get it back in on a retest or something like that. So, there is, of course, a chance that you miss out for the most part, but, it's also a chance that these kind of situations happen and you don't really, buy in at what is essentially the top of the day for that day's trading range, right? So, it's a give and take, of course, naturally, but this is where risk management essentially comes in. But we ended up getting a small potential breakout intraday. We actually got rejected pretty much right at the reversion line of the Bollinger Bands, right? We have, of course, the reversion line, right? The mean, if you will. Got a pretty decent rejection off of there. I thankfully closed my cash secured puts and I reopened them close to the bottom, not at the bottom, but, close to the bottom at about $400 per share, because I don't think Tesla is going that much slower, personally speaking. And if it does, I'm happy to enter, right? I am currently underweight, of course, as I'm waiting for this essentially to play out. But, we got that rejection here, right? But also, where did we reject? We rejected at 425. Remember, I mentioned that level many times. It's a pretty important level. In my opinion, 415 to 425, that $10 range is pretty crucial because this $10 range, right, which is all the way from here down to about here, you can see, let me remove this one for now. You can kind of see how this area has acted in the past as a support back here, and there's a resistance back here. It's a pretty important level, and well, resistance today as well. It's a pretty nice area. That $10 range is pretty crucial for the bulls to retake and for the bears to essentially lose control over, right? And for the bulls obviously to get back up higher. So that is a possibility. So or something that the bulls want to do. Now I think they will do it at some point. I don't know when, and this is why I'm not buying calls or anything like that. If anything, I'm just selling cash secured puts because I don't know when it's going to happen, right? Today seemed like it would have potential. Obviously that wasn't it. It could be because there's some anxiety, if you will, in the market towards CPI tomorrow. Who knows exactly the reason why? Nobody knows. I'm not trying to pretend like I do, but what I do know is the fact that we're not ready yet. We're not ready just yet, and that's kind of what I've been saying for quite some time. So anyway, watch for that general $10 range as a continued resistance. But I do think that once the bulls at some point, which again, I think they will at some point, reclaim it, I think things can start looking a lot better. And at the very least, we'll get a retest to about $460 per share. That'll be my first main target. And of course, if we go higher than that, well, we'd want to see a close above that, 460 to 470-ish $10 range as well to potentially see a retest of all-time highs, and a close above all-time highs probably means we're going a little bit higher than that as well. It just, level by level, day by day for the most part. So watch for this moving forward. Right now, that's kind of my overall analysis, mainly to the upside, short-term-ish speaking, we'll say, for the next maybe week or two, something like that, right? To the downside, I do think Tesla's actually looking pretty strong. Now, obviously, I don't want to sit here and act like, oh, it's not gonna go down anymore, guys. The bottom's in, load up, time to get rich. No, I mean, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows for sure. The idea is just risk reward, right? Again, that's why I'm selling cash secured puts. I'm willing to buy down around here, and which is roughly where my cash secured put is sitting to begin my first actual position. At which point, worst case, I can just sell very aggressive cover calls and rake in quite a bit of premium on Tesla. This thing gives a lot of premium right now. Anyway. That's not the point. The point is the fact that, we are taking this market bias and, we're clearly turning it into support. We're hugging it pretty tightly. And, the fact that we actually had this gap up, yes, it's not ideal that we ended up not only filling the gap, but actually closing below the gap up. That definitely shows a bit of weakness in my opinion. But I still like the fact that we went back up above the market bias, and now we're kind of coming back down into it, and kind of re-solidifying it as support essentially, if that makes sense, right? I like to see these kind of things. That's not too bad. And at the end of the day, we're still ultimately in this downward channel / bull flag, which again, at some point, I do expect it to break out. No idea when, but I do expect it to break out. Also, the stochastic has finally flipped bullish, right? I like to see this. I like to see this. This is the kind of signs I like to see that tells me that, we're probably closer to a bottom than not, essentially. Now, this doesn't mean that the bottom is guaranteed in and we don't go any lower. It just, to me, usually means the fact that there's a good chance that if we do see any lower, there's a better chance that that's just an opportunity than it is something to be scared of. Obviously, things can change. Nothing is guaranteed, but that's kind of what that tells me, at least as of right now. So let's see how that actually plays out moving forward, of course. Now, so the actual downside in terms of levels, right? We've been finding a lot of support at about 380, like a lot of support at around 380 to like the very high 370s, which I'm, very impressed to see. Again, worst case to me is still the bottom Bollinger Band around 370 to the actual bull case, worst case scenario, about 360 to, maybe even touching our, or getting our feet wet in the 350s level, right? That to me is like the worst case scenario. I don't think we'll get there, but I don't want to fully disregard that potential. Like there is a chance that we do go there, of course. I don't think we will though, based on the strength that Tesla's ultimately overall still showing, despite today's a little bit of lackluster performance. I still think it's looking pretty decent, especially when you look at the call flow coming in, like especially towards the end of the day. A lot of calls are coming in on Tesla. I actually saw a pretty decent one come in earlier today, this golden one right here, 400 call above the ask, which shows urgency. And this came in when Tesla was trading at 406 actually. So whoever this person is, this whale, January 24th, by the way, they're clearly, bullish on Tesla. And they are currently underwater on it, but I don't know if they closed it or not, of course, but pretty good, right? But and this, I believe Trump's inauguration is what dates? What day is it again? I can't remember what day it is. January 20th, I believe, is when that is. And this actually covers the inauguration event. So let's see. What if Trump pulls up in a bunch of Cybertrucks? That's unironically kind of bullish, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, just strictly off the technicals, right? It's not looking too bad at all on the daily chart. I think it's looking pretty decent. We just really want to recapture the 415 to 420-ish, 425, I should say, ish range. And I think from there, Tesla should find its strength to move higher. And again, below, we have about 380, 370, 360 and potentially peeking ahead into the 350s, right? Those are the main levels. But again, I've been very impressed with how well Tesla's been holding this general level over here, right? It's just not faltered. Even when the market was very weak these 3 days, I think it was these 3 days, it's held very well. And I like to see that. So let's see, right? Again, this is mainly why I'm selling cash secured puts, right? I'm not trying to play these short-term games. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow for sure. I don't know how Tesla's going to do it. Tesla likes to trap people very obviously, clearly, as we've seen, whether it's a bear trap down here or a bull trap up here. And I'm not trying to get trapped. I'm not trying to get trapped, right? That's kind of my main, play, I guess. I don't want to get trapped. So, I'm doing the cash secured puts route. And if I get a sign, great. I'll sell cover calls. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful premium on the stock. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. I'll continue mentioning this again. Despite me thinking the daily chart is overall constructively bullish, especially if we close the week, this week above 415, I think it's extra bullish. I think if we close this week above 415 at least, I think that's a thumbs up. But obviously, it's not perfect. Why is it not perfect? Well, I am very I like playing the mean reversion type strategy, right? So essentially what that means is when a stock is too far away from the mean, I'm a little bit more hesitant overall, right? Not always, of course, but overall, I would say, right? And Tesla right now, you can see if I go to the weekly on the Bollinger Bands, for instance, where there's the Bollinger Bands, the market bias even, if I bring out the Bands regression, right, which I think is a little bit more upwards towards than the Bollinger Bands, but nonetheless, you can see they're both very similar right over here around, 320 roughly, right? Regardless of which one you want to look at, they kind of have the same end result. But the point is the fact that we're still on the weekly chart. We're pretty far away from both the market bias and the middle line, if you will, of the Bollinger Band, which is that mean reversion type situation. Especially the middle line of the Bollinger Band, which is one I really care about. Now we're closer to that than not, but the point is we're still decently far away. And again, that's currently sitting at about 320. Now, I don't think we'll go to 320, but what I'm not completely disregarding is the fact that, maybe this move up takes a bit longer than anticipated. That is a possibility. And ultimately what happens is we have maybe a move up, then we make another move back down. And we kind of trap both bulls and bears. Like, to me, the most complex move that will trap the most people as possible is we get a bear trap pretty much arguably even tomorrow. Then we get a move up, potentially even all the way up to 460, get a massive bull trap, reject, come back down, go to about 360, get a massive bear trap, and that should give time for the Bollinger Band reversion line to catch up, and we kind of meet in the middle, if you will, at about 360, and then from there we get a massive bear trap and we rocket up even further. And at that point, people will start charting it kind of like this, and we'll essentially be creating what will instead be a massive weekly bull flag. But that, of course, will take time. That's not going to happen tomorrow or next week. Like, if we actually play out this route on the weekly time frame, I mean, it's a weekly time frame. Like, this easily can take well into February, right? Easily can take well into February. But if that's the case, man, this sounds like an option seller's wet dream, because this is phenomenal stuff to just sell options against while we potentially make this massive weekly consolidation. Because again, you have to understand, we had a massive run up. You have to understand this, right? The stock, massive run up, arguably a parabolic run up, the last several weeks, pretty much since that's the earnings arguably, and then especially after the presidential election, right? Massive run up. So, it's not completely unheard of to overall have a pretty large weekly consolidation sitting around this area. Again, maybe a move up to 460, back down, maybe even to as low as 360, and get these massive swings, but ultimately overall going nowhere. A lot of the premiums are ultimately dying off. Market makers win as per usual. Massive potential weekly bull flag. And this sort of resets the stock from being this a little bit, even now on the weekly chart, still a little bit overheated, to truly set up for that next actual power leg up, which again can take at least another month, in my opinion, if it plays out like this. So anyway, that's just me thinking out loud, right? This is just kind of my sort of mean reversion brain, if you will, going at full throttle over here. And that's what I potentially envision moving forward for Tesla stock. I think too many people want it to fall. I think too many people want it to make new all-time highs. What if it does neither? What if it does neither? Sometimes you have to ask yourself that question. What if neither happens? And we essentially do this. Just, food for thought. But either way, we'll take it level by level, day by day, candle by candle, week by week. But that's my overall analysis on Tesla stock. So let me know what you think down below, and take a look at options flow. So we saw the options flow here. Obviously, the bulls are dominating. And I think, I do think short term there's a higher chance Tesla goes to 460 first. But then I think there's a real chance we reject from there. Massive bull trap. Come back down, 360, massive bear trap, and then from there we truly make a massive weekly base and we rock it off after that. But again, that can take a couple months. Anyway, going over to the charter flow, we saw that, right? Bulls are in control for the options flow, which is nice to see. In terms of overall confirmed bullish flow, I think Tesla's probably only a 9 million bearish confirmed flow. Nothing to really write home about, nothing crazy. Ignore it, in my opinion, doesn't mean anything. And yeah, I think it comes down to CPI. I think the market looks better than not, personally speaking still, similar to the whole mean reversion strategy, right? The market QQQ right at that weekly support, right at that weekly middle line, which is exactly what, I want Tesla to eventually do. Looking pretty good, right? SPY's pretty much right, dancing right around it as well. It's actually below it, so it's looking a little bit weaker than QQQ, but still, it's around it, which is what matters, right? Below us, we have market bias and support on the weekly time frame. It's not looking too bad. So I don't know. Let's just see what happens, right? Let's just see what happens. On the daily chart, of course, we're still, pretty much towards the bottom end of the Bollinger Bands, which the market doesn't usually stay like that very long. We'll see. Nobody knows. CPI, maybe sometimes, sometimes CPI doesn't even have to be necessarily beautiful. It's just the fact that we're releasing that pressure from the system and we finally got that news out. Sometimes that could be enough for the market to just swing up, almost regardless of how bad it, or how good or bad it is, unless it's actually really bad. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think. See you tomorrow. Peace.